We have a roughly 60-minute estimate to bring you the very latest in news, business and sports, and the time starts right now. Let's look at the highlights.
Tonight, the names and particulars of persons of interest in the multi-million shilling fake gold scam.
And I will tell you that the target was not the leaders from the opposition. I'm telling you categorically here today, the target is Fred Matiang'i.
Police investigate, politicians speculate.
Plus, did top KRA management ignore an internal report on corruption and poor leadership? Details of the dossier and recommendations that were never acted upon.
And a 7-year-old pupil is brutally killed. Matungu still living in fear.
Hata mtoto akitembea ovyo ovyo unaona tu mtoto ameshikwa. Hata nini ikitokea sasa imetushinda vile tunaweza tukafanya, mtusaidie. Watu tunauawa. Sasa hawa ndio viongozi wetu wa kesho.
Just how did it get to this?
Also tonight, Operation Kick Out Illegal Foreigners Working in Betting Firms.
I would like to sign all those deportation orders today so that those who are affected leave the country tonight.
Betting firms' latest battle as court suspends ban on ads.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Good evening and thank you for making NTV your news channel of choice. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Rafael Mbalo. Tonight we ask, could the Kenya Revenue Authority have been a victim of its own inaction?
Turns out the issues plaguing the taxmen had been discussed at length at a high-level meeting between the top management and the board of directors in December 2018, and solutions given.
Almost 6 months later, life has come full circle for the taxman as a number of its employees face court action over alleged impropriety. Ken Mijungu reports.
Faced by a myriad of challenges at the Kenya Revenue Authority, including a decline in revenue collection and management shortcomings, the taxman held a retreat for the top management and the board on the 4th and 5th of December of last year. In the meeting, matters revolving around human resource dominated the agenda. In a confidential document seen by NTV, the meeting set out to jointly identify common and recurrent challenges, brainstorm and agree on common hindrances to resolving such challenges with the aim of ensuring synergy and team bonding between the just inaugurated board, chaired by Ambassador Francis Mudhaura, and the management team, led by Commissioner General John Njeraine. In the meeting, one of the problems identified as recurring was corruption and unethical issues, where the meeting was unanimous that corruption was a stain within the management and the board and that had permeated through the entire organization. Corruption was also identified as a major barrier to resolving the organization's problems. At the end of the meeting, it was agreed that all need to take a zero-tolerance approach. But 2 weeks ago, staff were rounded up by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, all linked to unethical practices, including corruption and bribery. A week later, a senior manager who was present at the retreat was arrested, accused of the very same issues discussed in Naivasha. But that was not all. It was also found that KRA had invested on technology that was barely being utilized. The taxman has over the years struggled to meet revenue targets and putting in place strategies to ensure minimal losses in revenue. With less than a month to go before the end of the financial year, KRA has issued another collection warning, noting that the shortfall may be as much as 500 billion shillings. In conclusion, it was noted that eradicating corruption was critical in ensuring the organization thrives. The report noted in an unerring sense that all recommended actions have a little chance of bringing about the desired results if the leaders do not, as a matter of urgency, enhance their management and leadership skills. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
To a story we've been keenly following for you. A 7-year-old boy was found murdered in the latest episode of violence in Matungu, Kakamega County, despite a security operation to rid the area of criminal elements.
The Class 1 pupil at Bulimbo Star Academy was stabbed several times and left for dead, bringing the number of those who've been killed in the last 2 months to 20.
Zacchaeus Musame has more details.
This distraught face's tale of the tormented has gripped villages in Matungu, Kakamega County. Panyako village is once again cloaked in grief A 7-year-old was attacked and killed by unknown people last evening. Class 1 pupil Malik Wamkoya was said to be playing with his peers when he was attacked and left for dead. He was found with serious stab wounds on his abdomen. His parents are said to have been at the mosque for evening prayers at the time.
Kwa serikali wamekuja kwa sababu ya kulinda usalama, watusaidie kwa sababu haya imezidi, kwa sababu juzi ndugu yangu aliuawa pamoja na shemeji yangu, tukawa katika sikitiko kubwa sana. Paka wale hatujajua wale waliofanya kitendo kama hicho.
Ingawa wametuletea jeshi, lakini hao jeshi hatuoni wanapitia wapi. Usalama imekuwa mbaya.
Tulikuwa na mheshimiwa Matiang'i alipokuwa hapa, hata haijakwisha wiki 2 au 1, alituhakikisha ya kwamba tutakuwa na usalama kuanzia siku ile alikuwepo.
This latest attack raises questions on the effectiveness of the security operation. The operation was aimed at flashing out criminal elements behind the campaign of terror in Matungu.
Saa moja uwanga saa bado. Hata ninafikiri tutaanza sasa kuuliwa tu mchana. Mtu akijua tu huyu na alima. Na ni mtu yule ambayo ni wakuua watu, hata niua.
Residents claim the GSU officers deployed to quell the violence have not been in good working terms with the local police, and criminal elements may have exploited the security loopholes. Matungu OCPD John Masili declined to comment on this most recent attack that has stirred fear among the residents of Matungu.
Zakis Masame, NTV, Kakamega.
Parts of Kakamega County have been in the grip of criminal elements who kill and maim with reckless abandon from late last year. The gangs, who derive their names from the numbers 42 and 12, have been terrorizing residents, leaving families devastated.
A security operation ordered by the government last week seems to have had a little effect on the gang's activities as they continue killing. NTV's Brenda Wanga looks at the genesis of the killings that have brought the county onto the security limelight.
The residents of Kakamega County have been caught up in a wave of insecurity that has left a murderous trail in its wake. The areas of operation: Sabatia, Hwisero, Mumias East and West, and Matungu.
Juzi tumekuwa na kisa ambacho wameua mtu pale Matungu Campsite ambaye alikuwa ni bawabu. Shule ya Itete wameua msichana mmoja wakatupa karibu na gate ya shule. Pia waliua baba mwingine juzi kule chini ukielekea sehemu ya Muira. Na sasa hivi tunaongea kisa ambacho wameua kijana ambaye hana hatia yote, kijana ambaye ako shule.
The killings began in early March. Then the killers, said to be operating in groups of between 3 and 5, struck a homestead in Matungu. Their first victims, a 30-year-old man and his pregnant wife. They bludgeoned the husband to death, but not before forcing him to witness as they took turns raping his young wife before killing her as well. That killing spree continued, and the gang, now identified as the 42 brothers and emboldened with each kill, took their campaign of terror along the breadth and length of Matungu sub-county. Soon, the murderous gang took their signature killings to other sub-counties and, in some instances, even beyond Kakamega County. The biggest body count in Kilingili Market on the border of Emuhaya and Sabatia constituencies. 6 watchmen were hacked to death in one night here in March. The gangs have adopted a non-discriminatory approach in their choice of victims, from mothers and their unborn babies to toddlers and teenagers and the aged in society. No one is immune to the gangs who attack using machetes, axes, spiked clubs, hammers, nails, and an assortment of other sharp objects. Before the sustained attacks over the last 2.5 months, the group had been singled out for the murder of 12 people in Butere in October last year. They had also been accused of injuring over 40 in the areas of operation. The gang is said to have begun its operations in Kisumu before relocating to Western Kenya. Its members aged between 15 and 25 years. Investigations are pointing to the existence of more than one group. From the 42 brothers, a splinter group taking on the name 12 Brothers has also been roped into the violence. Indeed, the DCI confirmed the arrest of the ringleaders of the second group. On Friday last week, 24-year-old Boniface Gubimiru alias Guga was taken into custody just 2 days after another suspect, 20-year-old Kelson Lienga alias Kevin Lienga, was arrested in Kangware. The DCI believe that Gubimiru and Lienga are the ringleaders of the gangs carrying out organized crimes in western Kenya. Indeed, the DCI accused the suspects of having been involved in violent robberies in 2017 in Shavakali and Sabatia, where they chopped off victims' legs with pangas. The gangs are also believed to be in the control of politicians from the region who are using them to intimidate their opponents in an election that is still 3 years away. Over the weekend, some politicians were arrested in connection with the gangs.
Play the tribal card.
Two, former CS Rashid Echesa and Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala, were cleared of the accusations last night. The killings, however, continue. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Disturbing details in that story. Just we hope that something at least will be done. The DCI is on top of this, but we just hope that there will be no more killings. Let's move on now to our top story. Tonight it was expected that the DCI would pull back the curtain on the faces of the biggest masterminds of the fake gold trade in the country, but it appears the country will have to wait.
Sources at the DCI say the list, that also includes high-profile personalities, will be released after an operation to arrest the most wanted suspects has been conducted.
NTV's Seth Olale has the latest on the investigations into the Dubai gold puzzle and some of those who police have been looking into in relation to the scam.
Jared Otieno, who was arrested last week and is being detained at the Kileleshwa police station, is among the persons of interest that detectives investigating the fake gold scam believe has a case to answer. Multiple sources close to the investigation say he played a major role in the scam, having received more than 400 million shillings from a representative of the Dubai royal family. Politician Zahir Janda is also wanted for questioning on the alleged role his company played in the whole deal. Janda is one of the persons whose names were mentioned in a leaked audio tape recording. Discussing the release of the 400 million shillings, Janda has since denied any involvement.
Actually, this is my first time doing the gold business, and I am actually a shareholder in the company that is alleging that is a complainant. I'm a stakeholder with 12% shares in Z Livia.
A Kenyan national who owns a charter flights company was, as at yesterday, being sought by detectives who claim one of his planes was used to ferry the consignment of gold. Another suspect, only identified as Mukiri, is being sought by detectives for impersonating Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i. Mukiri is said to have inspected a guard of honor while meeting with the royal family representative Ali Zandi in Karen after Dubai complained about the delay of the consignment. Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula is said to be among a group of senators on a trip to Hong Kong. He is expected back in the country at the end of the week. He is also a person of interest following a leaked audio that put him at the heart of the multi-million gold scandal.
Head of state on this matter.
Okay.
And explain to him.
Yes.
Sources at the DCI say the senator would be required to immediately record a statement on the scandal upon his arrival. A politician who has served a jail term in a foreign country completes the list of high-profile suspects being sought by detectives over their involvement in the scam. Apart from the 6, detectives are also pursuing other accomplices who include police officers and officials at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport believed to have aided the syndicate on numerous occasions. The DCI is expected to unveil a list of the most culpable suspects tomorrow. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations are still pursuing persons of interest still on the run, even as the Friday deadline for Inspector General to submit his final findings to the Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, who will in turn prefer charges against the most culpable suspects. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
As investigators try to unmask the faces behind the fake gold trade, the politics of gold are gathering steam. Politicians allied to ODM leader Raila Odinga say he had been dragged into the circus as just a diversion, as Interior CS Fred Matiang'i was the real target.
National Assembly Minority Leader John Mbadi claims the DP's allies were planning to impeach Matiang'i. But as Kennedy Mureithi reports, some of the DP's allies dismissed his statement as just political noise.
The gold scam that has even dragged in top politicians, including the president, has now taken on a political dimension. At the center of the swirling allegations is the alleged involvement of ODM leader Raila Odinga in the fake gold trade. Deputy President William Ruto at the weekend stirred the pot, piling on the pressure on Odinga.
Wakatuambia hapo katikati ati wataenda Canaan yenyewe ikawa ya bandia. Saa hii watu wanauza gold, hiyo gold pia ni ya bandia.
Odinga's allies have, however, rallied to his defense, laughing off the accusations made by the deputy president and his allies.
Ruto hawezi kuzungumzia mambo ya ufisadi. If there is a con man, watu wa Kenya na kila mahali wanajua.
Earlier today, Minority Leader in the National Assembly, John Mbadi, who addressed a news conference in his office, accused the DP and his political team of targeting Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i in their onslaught. He claims the introduction of Raila's name in the scam was just a smokescreen.
The target is Fred Matiang'i. The other talks is just hot air. The point is, the fact that someone mentions, a conman says that give me money, I'm going to talk to so and so, does not make that person is referring to become a culprit.
These remarks have, however, attracted a barrage of counter-attacks from the Ruto Brigade. In a statement to newsrooms, Nandi's Senator Samson Cherargei discounted Mbadi's remarks as just noise and a way of sanitizing his party leader. Honorable Mbadi should not divert attention. He should advise his party leader that the sheikh has said he wants his gold or the money. Those are the only options on the table. Senate Majority Leader Kipchumba Murkomen tweeted the same message, adding that those are not people to joke with unless you don't read current affairs. The Deputy President, who this weekend led the spirited attacks against Odinga, today chose to steer clear of gold politics when he met governors from the coast at his current office.
When you have other things, you organize a press conference for those other things.
Each time there is an issue that shapes the public discourse, be it either on crime or corruption-related cases, the Kenyan politician has perfected the art of politicizing that matter in an effort to either derail the investigations that are ongoing or to make sure that there are backroom deals that are being made to solve that particular problem. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
We're going back to security matters from the gangs in Matungu to now another gang where the government has put on notice members of a criminal gang terrorizing and raping women in the sprawling Nyalenda slums in Kisumu.
Operation Fagia Rapists from Nyalenda was launched today, with security organs promising to restore law and order in the area where more than 18 women have been attacked and injured in just the span of 1 month.
Okukusa reports.
Alibeba kisu, nikazuia hivi, ikakata mkono hapa. Baada kukata hapo, akaongeza na huku na hapa.
Kanidunga hapa kisu, na alitaka kunidunga hapa, akapata masikio.
2 days after NTV highlighted the plight of women in Nyalenda slums following a spate of gang rapes and attacks, a high-powered delegation visited. Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Gender Rachel Shebesh and Kisumu County Woman Representative Rosa Buyu led a team of county officials on a fact-finding mission.
Uko na witness? That issue of witness we are going to discuss with the police. I was thinking that before maybe you go, we need also to go and talk to our police. This is coming up now. Me, I was not aware.
The leaders came face to face with victims of a serial rapist notorious for waylaying women in the morning as they visit the toilet.
Kutoa tu hiyo panga nikasema tu vile alitamuka ati mimi ni muuaji. Hata ukipiga nduru, nilipiga tu nduru mara moja.
Even though police claim to have arrested more than 5 people in connection with the attacks, none of them has been arraigned.
I don't fear bond. And I don't fear judicial system ama internal security kama hawafanyi kazi ya kuprotect wa mama. Hatuwezi ongea lugha moja. Lugha yetu sisi kama ministry is to protect.
Kisumu East Deputy County Commissioner Josephine Ouko, however, assured residents of enhanced security in the coming days.
Operation ya nini? Ya kufagia rapist Nyalenda. Na tutaifanya pamoja vile tulifanya mambo ya nini? Waizi. Kama unajua wewe uko na fikira hata unaweza kufikiria ati unakuwa rapist, ujue Nyalenda imekuwa ndogo sana kwako. Na kupatia onyo, hama.
Shebesh and Buyu decried what they termed as flaws in the law and called for immediate amendments of certain sections of the sexual offences laws that appeared to hinder the dispensation of justice.
We must also look at that law, because if you are a 16-year-old and you are strong enough to rape somebody else, you cease being a minor. Now you must be dealt with like a man who can rape, because you stop being a minor. If you can rape a woman who is your mother's age, you stop being a minor.
Ouko, NTV.
These toilets were built.
NTV Investigates yesterday went into the world of child adoptions and exposed the rot in the system where lawyers, police and the courts flout the laws on adoption and guardianship.
Child welfare experts now say the increasing demand for children to adopt and the cracks in the system expose the children to the risk of trafficking and psychological trauma, and it also fuels cases of theft at birth.
The case of baby Edward, who was given up for adoption upon claims that his mother neglected him and highlighted by NTV, is just a snapshot of a bigger portrait of vicious custody battles that expose the irregularities and disregard for procedure in the process of adopting and guardianship. The Little Angels Network, an adoption agency, is said to have given up the baby for adoption to Charles Omanga and Wesheke without tracing the relatives, as the mother was in police custody.
Family tracing and reunification should happen in all cases of children, regardless of whether the child is abandoned or orphaned or whichever other category the child finds themselves in.
Okay.
So either way, even if it was abandonment, then if family tracing had been done, we would have then not found the families. But had it been done comprehensively, then we would have found who the parents are.
The police officers who handled the two cases seem to have not done due diligence and providing accurate documents to ensure the right procedure for adoption was followed.
The institutions, right from the police, the children homes, the adoption societies, the courts, the lawyers, some of them have actually formed cartels. And since the demand is more than the supply of the children who are required for adoption, parents have been losing children through theft, switching in hospitals, and sometimes I don't want to say that this is what happened in the first particular case. There's a possibility that that was actually just something that was planned.
It is estimated that for every 6 Kenyans wishing to adopt a child, only 1 child is available for adoption. It is thus no wonder the process is marked by anomalies and flouting of rules. According to adoption experts, the cracks in the systems have left behind battered families and exposed children to the danger of trafficking and psychological turmoil. Hence the government's move to put a ban on inter-country adoption.
Our role is to make sure that those loopholes are filled so that the system is foolproof. And anybody in between who wants to tamper with the system, whether they're children officers or lawyers, must be dealt with.
There are now calls to strengthen regulations set down to adoption, guardianship and fostering in the country. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
It's 23 minutes past the hour. We take a short break, but we'll be back with news from the courts. Stay with us.
on with NTV tonight, and in the interest of full disclosure, I do have to tell you that the following story is particularly disturbing. 4 suspects, a lady and 3 men, were arraigned at the Machakos Law Courts following the rape and murder of a disabled woman whose body was found in her house in Kalama, Machakos last week.
The late Esther Wavinya Mwandi's body was found half naked on her bed with her walking crutches inserted into her private parts. The suspects were detained at the Machakos police station for a further 3 days to allow police conclude investigations into the rape and murder.
Elsewhere, Nakuru Town East Member of Parliament David Gikaria has accused police of torturing and denying him medical services after he spent the weekend in police custody.
Gikaria was arrested on Saturday evening after he and some of his supporters raided a site where the county government is constructing stalls and was detained at the Bondeni police station. The MP was this morning presented before Naivasha Senior Resident Magistrate Esther Burrows and is facing charges of assault, incitement, resisting arrest and causing disturbance at our police station.
And finally, the High Court has extended orders barring the government from implementing the 1.5% housing levy. Justice Maureen Onyango issued the orders to allow for the consolidation of the various cases filed against the plan.
The government planned to take 1.5% of workers' gross salary in the formal sector to set up a housing fund, but various parties, KOTU Trade Union, Congress of Kenya, the Consumers Federation of Kenya, COFIC, and the Federation of Kenyan Employers filed suits challenging the levy.
The High Court has temporarily suspended the directive that banned celebrities from participating in gambling advertisements.
The ban that was to take effect on the 30th of May had been put in place by the Betting Control and Licensing Board.
At the same time, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i said the government will revoke the work permits of foreigners who applied to conduct other businesses but ended up in the betting industry.
NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
The meeting between Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and investors in the betting and gaming industry was meant to discuss the rules that will streamline the industry, the amendment of the gaming bill and the revised regulations.
If people applied for different papers and then they ended up in gambling, I would like them to leave the country today. I would like to sign all those deportation orders today, so that those who are affected leave the country tonight.
Matiang'i says the betting and gaming companies owed the government some 26 billion shillings in taxes.
Another issue that came up from the meeting, which is also in the draft bill, is the importance of public protection, and this include the people who are not interested in betting, the young and the vulnerable, and those who bet by ensuring that there is no excess in gambling.
We all must obey the law, and we all must live by the law. So the era of cutting corners, is gone.
In the meantime, the High Court today temporarily suspended the directive from the Betting and Licensing Board that banned celebrities from participating in gambling advertisements in a bid to curb addiction. The ban was to take effect on the 30th of May. The government says it will ensure that betting firms fully comply with the law by the 1st of July. All firms are expected to provide proof of tax compliance by then.
You are willing to make money, go and pay for football clubs in Europe, but you don't have money to pay taxes in Kenya. And when people ask you to pay taxes, you rush to court, you get an order.
Over 90% of those who own gaming and betting firms in the country are foreigners. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Tonight, we are also reporting on the fresh bandit attacks in some parts of the country that have caused so much devastation. In Samburu, a young boy was shot by heavily armed bandits in Lubkoi area of Samburu North. The bandits had attempted to drive away livestock, but they were quickly repulsed. The incident happened where a huge contingent of police were killed by bandits in Baragoi. The government is currently carrying out a disarmament exercise and has taken over guns owned by police reservists in the area. In Baringo, 2 people were injured, 4 others are still missing, and 4 schools have been closed following an attack by 100 suspected bandits who stormed a village. The schools Pindas, Araba, Kasiela and Chemorgion have been closed as families living in the village fled to safety. The attacks came after the National Police Reservists in the area were disarmed by the government. The communities claim the disarmament has left them exposed to such attacks.
It's been said time and again of Kenya: steal a chicken and prepare to receive the harshest of sentences. Steal billions, and based on a 2018 Ipsos survey, the majority of Kenyans are certain there will be no conviction. The question that was posed in that survey was, how certain do you think it is that each of the following would be convicted and punished if they committed a serious crime? A 77% certainty in the case of an ordinary citizen compared to a 17% certainty in the case of a high-ranking politician, government official or rich businessman. In fact, Kenyans have proven they'll have no qualms electing you into office, and in all likelihood, their notoriety will work in your favor. This was proven true only last evening when a suspected chicken thief was sentenced to death in the court of public opinion in Rangwe. The suspect was stoned to death by his village mates when he attempted to escape from police custody. The culture of condemning the petty thief while celebrating the cartels appears peculiar to Kenya if recent events in Ukraine are anything to go by. In protest against a corrupt system, they elected a comedian as president, and he has gone ahead for They very literally tossed an MP in the trash can for sponsoring unpopular legislation.
Was set to vote on a vetting law, an anti-corruption. It's called lustration.
Time now for business. Climate change, pesticides and land degradation are slowly reducing the world's bee population, putting the production of insect-pollinated crops at risk. At the World Bees Day celebration in Nairobi today, farmers were urged to limit use of pesticides in order to ensure food security and raise honey production in the country. Victor Kiprop has more.
Up to 70% of all plants depend on pollinators such as hummingbirds, bats, butterflies and the honeybee, the world's #1 pollinator. But with the sharp drop in the numbers of honeybees in Kenya, experts are concerned that the country's food supply could soon feel the sting of the declining bees population.
As we try to upscale agricultural production, then pollination services must also be addressed, because without pollination, we cannot get those crops. We are telling our farmers to grow avocados. We are telling our farmers to grow sunflower and other crops which require bee pollination. But we are not talking about how pollination will take place.
Around early 90s, we had a lot of bees in our locality, whereby you could find most bees even patching in our rooms, trees, even in galvads. But nowadays you see a lot of decline. Even you can install around 100 beehives, but you find at the end of the day, after 4 to 3 months or 6 months, you will find it has been colonized by only 20 or less than 30%.
Declining honeybees populations have already slashed Kenya's annual honey production by 10,000 metric tons, but experts are banking on measures such as the propagation of the queen bee to reverse the trend.
We thought that we need to bridge up that gap by being able to develop queens that can be used for replacement. So with that one now, a farmer should be able to get all his hives occupied as and when they want.
According to the apiculture platform of Kenya, Kenya produces just 25,000 metric tons of honey every year against an annual demand of 38,000 metric tons. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business, Nairobi.
The Capital Markets Authority, CMA, has secured the surrender of an additional 19 million shillings of potentially illegal gains from 5 traders whose accounts were frozen during investigations on Kenol Kobil's alleged insider trading. This further recovery is in addition to the 458 million shillings recovered 2 months ago related to the larger component of the suspicious trades identified through a total of 14 frozen accounts. CMA says all the recovered funds will be paid into the Investor Compensation Fund. The CMA's board has resolved to initiate enforcement proceedings against Kunal Bid, a stockbroking agent for Castrol Capital, for possible insider trading in connection with 4 traders, leading to potential illegal capital gains of 23.5 million shillings. The CMA board has also released 3.8 million shillings belonging to one of the traders following a determination that he had not traded using insider information. Irish potato farmers will now be required to be registered at the county offices in their respective counties in a new policy directive set to be unveiled later this week. The Ministry of Agriculture has developed the Crops Irish Potato Regulations of 2019, which also require that all marketing agents, dealers, processors, collection centres and storage facilities be registered with the county governments for purposes of data collection. Over the last few years, the ministry has tried to regulate the Irish potato trade by imposing a ban on any bag above 50 kilograms, but those efforts were thwarted when traders went to court to stop the ban. But the ministry is reintroducing this directive in the 2019 regulations and says that anyone who violates it commits an offence. Let's move on now. 5 commercial banks have teamed up to unveil a mobile-based credit facility that will target the small to mid-sized enterprises. The facility, which will operate under the name Stawi, will be managed by the Diamond Trust Bank, Commercial Bank of Africa, KCB Bank, NIC and the Cooperative Bank in the pilot phase. The central bank says this facility is intended specifically for the MSMEs that have been locked out of the formal credit market due to the informal nature of their records and lack of collateral for secured loans. Stawi will give loans from as low as 30,000 shillings up to 250,000 shillings at 9% interest rate.
Mara ya kwanza kwetu sisi kupata mkopo wa aina hiyo. Na registration itakuwa ni ile ya digital registration. Alafu wakati wa kulipa unategemea vile mpango ya biashara yako vile iko. Unaweza lipa kwa 1 month, mwezi moja, unaweza lipa kwa miezi mitatu, miezi 6 na miezi 12. Kwa hivyo nakupatia ile wakati tofauti kushuhudia biashara yako vile itafanyika kazi.
The implementation of 4 newly redefined basic units of measurements has commenced, making this a historical day the world over, even as it coincides with this year's World Metrology Day. The 4 units are the kilogram, which measures a unit of mass, the ampere for a unit of electric current, the Kelvin, which is a unit of temperature, and the mole, which measures the amount of substance. The change to the international measurement system will not be noticed by the common mwananchi and industries because there will be no net change to the derived units. It will, however, ensure more accurate and precise measurement systems realizable anywhere, anytime.
Those 2 institutions dealing with metrology, the Department of Weights and Measures and Kenya Bureau of Standards.
That's it for business. Let's take a break.
Thank you for staying with NTV tonight. Not many restaurants in the city have diversified their human resource base. In most cases, one is accustomed to having a quick conversation with the waiter or waitress to get the order ready. However, that is not the case for one hotel in the capital city, the Palette Cafe in Lavington, Nairobi, that has taken on a different approach. On this week's My Job segment, NTV's Mel Miendo brings us the story of Faisal Hussein, the owner of Palette Cafe, who hired 6 hearing impaired attendants. And yes, you heard it right.
This is where Faisal Hussein began his business. This is the Palette Cafe, and it's a beautiful place, very ambient. And we want to get to hear the most interesting thing about this place. They actually employed hearing impaired people. Here's Faisal. It's great to see you. There's so much to talk about. This is a very beautiful place.
You're very welcome.
Sante.
This cafe is just 5 months old and it's already creating a buzz, not just for its wide array of delicacies that scintillates the palate, but also for the people who serve you. Out of the 10 attendants here, 6 are hearing impaired. The owner, 29-year-old Faisal Hussein, has been very deliberate about his hiring policy.
It wasn't just my plan for a long time, just to help people, and especially youth people, right? I know the problems and the difficulties they're facing within this continent. And I can't only say in Kenya, but the whole continent has a problem of unemployment with, again, also disabled people. And again, hearing impairing people. Those are people who has less problems, which is just not to hear, but they have a big problem of not getting jobs. So what I thought is like to involve them in my business. And look, it's going very well.
Tell us how the response was when people would come in.
To be very honest, when we started, everyone didn't understand that we have hearing impairing people. And I really like it. So when people comes in and you tell them, sorry, some of the guys that we're working with doesn't hear, they get shocked of like, how? And the good thing is, after seconds, this guy takes his order and goes and brings his food right, exact, in punctual. People are like amazed of how can they do it?
Thank you, thank you. Oh, it's beautiful.
24-year-old Edward Kamande has had a hearing impairment since 2009. He joined Palette Cafe in February 2019.
I wanted people from Mathare, Kibera, or some, within the city. So if I hire one guy, then he goes back to whole of that place and he tells, I'm working there. So those guys feel very good that they have an opportunity. Edward came from all the way from El Kalau, which is out of the city.
My experience here has encouraged me on how interacting with people from all over the world can make me go far. To stand firm all the time despite their hearing situation because opportunities come knocking.
Edward is among many who make Palette Cafe unique in its service and continue to challenge people to broaden their horizons in engaging with the hearing impaired. This is a standard set by Faisal, who has also encouraged suppliers in his business to diversify their employee preferences.
For me to buy things from them, they actually need to include their business. Disabled people. Can it be a hearing impairing? Can it be a physical disability or vision, anything? And everyone accepted it. And no one can say no, because how can you say no when I have those people?
Oh, I actually did it right. Mocha. Yes, thank you. So mocha single. Thank you so much. This has been amazing, just getting to talk to Edward and Faisal. I've ordered my mocha and it's really, really cool to see what's being done here at the Palette Cafe. I'm Mel Miendo on NTV. Thank you so much.
Amazing indeed, and I'll have to get Mel to teach me how to order mocha once I visit the Palette Cafe. Coming up is sports right after this break.
Karuma. Now, the national football team head coach, Sebastian Minye, conducted an early morning training session with the Provisional African Cup of Nations and the African Nations Championship squads. Musa Mohamed, Clifton Miheso, Dennis Odhiambo and Masoud Juma were among players in the AFCON provisional squad who trained at Kasarani. Harambee Stars will jet out to Paris on the 31st of May ahead of a 19-day residential camp before heading to Cairo, Egypt in time for the Continental Showpiece. Meanwhile, the CHAN qualifier against Burundi will be played in August 2019, with the aggregate winner facing either Tanzania or Sudan in the second and final qualifying round of the tournament, set to be held in Ethiopia in January 2020.
We're on the way to try to build, to have also some answer physically. How is Masoud now? Because it will be necessary for me to take a decision.
We wish the team all the best. Now, the national women's volleyball team continued its perfect record at the Africa Zone 5 All-Africa Games qualifiers, cruising to a straight sets victory over Ethiopia in Game 2. The Malkia strikers saw off Ethiopia 25-14, 25-8 and 25-10 to put themselves on the brink of qualifying for the All-Africa Games. Kenya will next face host Uganda in the final game on Tuesday. The tournament is being used as the qualification round for the All-Africa Games to be held in Morocco come September, where the Malkia strikers are defending champions. The Kenya Academy of Sports Conference seeks to improve how sport is managed in the country. The inaugural forum got off to a resounding start in Nairobi under the theme Transforming the World Through Sports. The conference brought together government officials, sports persons, federations and other key stakeholders.
Tunataka kuweka spoti ipewe kipaumbele katika mambo yote ya kitaifa hapa nchini. Mara nyingi sana tunawekwa kando kidogo wakati wa kufurahisha tu watu, wakati wa entertainment tu tunafurahi, alafu baadaye tunaenda kwa kazi zetu zingine, tunasahau mambo ya spoti mpaka mechi nyingine tena.
Tunataka kukuza ile vipawa, ile talanta, ile vijana wetu wako nayo. Lakini hatuwezi fanya kama hatuna ile kitu tunaita empowerment ya wale wanaweza kuchunga watoto.
3 trophies, an amazing tally of 169 goals in 61 games, and some of the most mesmerizing football ever seen in England. But Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says it won't be enough if his side failed to win the Champions League next season. Guardiola already has his mission cut out for next season.
I know we'll be judged at the end. We don't win the Champions League, will not be enough. I know that.
with Mark Masai, and I can see that he says he's tweeted. The handle is at PressPaske. Okay, Dennis, this is really not working for me, but basically he says it's good to be back. Yes.
It's not our way, just to be clear. Well, Mark was here very, very early at 9 just to make sure the table is not broken, the chair is intact, and Olive was standing in for him. But he's back and can't wait to see what he has for us. So
yeah, I'm just glad it's at 10 so that I get to watch Game of Thrones, the final episode.
Oh,
for those who haven't watched it yet, from 11.
Well, my name is Dennis Okari.
I'm Olive Burrows, and our sign language interpreter has been Rafael Mbalo. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.